And good evening, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Current Events on Tap, a podcast brought to you by the Alex Kirsch Project, where they like the drinks, the current events are on the house. And I'm your host, Alex Kirsch, pragmatic progressive, U.S. Army veteran, truck driver, gamer, and streamer. If this is your first time on the show, please do not forget to hit like, share, and comment, and subscribe. We are currently streaming live on YouTube, X platform, which is known as Twitter, and also on Twitch, I guess, because finally Twitch has decided to agree with me. The format of this show is simple. I bring one or more guests on the show. We talk beer or a beverage of choice and what our current events of the week. Each person will discuss their beverage of choice for this hour, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic. It does not matter. Then each person will each cover two current events of their choosing. They give the current event, they give their assessment, then each person gets a chance to give their assessment, and then we discuss it. Debate may be possible, but rest assured, you are in a good faith zone, and you will get your chance to get your point across. The point of this space is for all of us to discuss the issues, what we think of it, and keep an open mind on what the other person has to say. And please remember to keep it within TOS. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome our guest this evening, the Queen Alexa, friend of the show. How you doing, Alexa?
Hello. Hi. Yeah, I'm here. We agreed to this like months ago, and now we're actually here. So we're doing the thing now, and the thing that I definitely prepared for definitely did it.
Well, to be fair, like what was it? When you were supposed to be my first guest, but then I got COVID and I had to cancel. Yep. So that was just really unfortunate. But you know,
yeah. It all happens to us all. We all get the Wuhan virus eventually.
Absolutely. So anyway, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you at real quick.
Yeah, I'm a nobody. Discord.gg/political shit show. I have a Twitter that I never post on anymore at QueenAlexa147, and that's about it. Like I don't do anything.
Yeah, occasionally you've hosted panels in the past, so you just don't stream, but you let other people stream to it as long as
I don't do panels anymore because that shit's cringe.
Yeah, I know it's cringe, but you used to do panels though, so
I did used to do panels. I used to be a big deal. Okay, I used to be. All right, I used to be a real big deal.
Yeah, kind of like Dynamite, a big deal.
Yeah, I was a big fucking deal. Okay?
Yep. So anyway, do you have a beverage for the evening, or are you just sticking with water, milk, what have you?
I have hot tea.
Hot tea. There we go. What kind of hot tea are we talking about?
It's a German tea called it's something like Lily Pat, something like Miss Lily, something else in German. I don't fucking know.
Okay. Fair enough.
But yeah, when I do drink alcohol, it's usually like George Dickel's, like bourbon and whiskeys and stuff like that. Usually, you know, none of the mainstream like Wild Turkey and stuff like that. That shit's kind of meh.
Well, fortunately for you, I hate Wild Turkey. Wild Turkey fucks me up.
That shit's gross.
It's horrendous, absolutely. So, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I've heard the George Dickel's and stuff like that. That stuff's just better.
I've never had that one before, so I couldn't tell you.
Really good.
Like, so. But tonight I am drinking a beer I've never had before. It's Innis and Gunn Scottish Golden Ale. It's actually quite good. It's quite delicious.
It looks like something a fucking Midwestern white woman would drink.
It's quite possible, but you know what? It tastes delicious. You know what? When it comes to alcohol, I have a very, very, I'm kind of a beer snob. But this one actually isn't bad. It's kind of like, it's a different version. It's kind of like drinking Corona, but it's not Corona, if that makes sense. So
you cannot say that right now. That is not okay.
Oh, well, yeah, it is what it is. I am drinking this out of a beer stein that I bought.
Is that a real stein?
This is a real beer stein. I bought it in Rhine-Main, Germany.
It's made in Taiwan.
Oh, shit, you're right. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's made in Germany, so. But I actually have another beer stein that I'm going to break out for other occasions, but I left it in the house. But I haven't drank out of this one in a while, so I thought I would just, for this occasion, break this one out. But I bought this when I was on my way back from my first deployment from Iraq. I was at a like a gift shop in Rhine-Main, Germany, and I was like, I'm going to fucking buy that, because you know what? I'm 21 now, I'm going to buy this thing, and I'm going to drink out of it. And I've had it ever since. And I've had this, oh my God, I've had this thing for 20 fucking years. Holy shit. I feel old. Oh my God.
You are old.
I am old.
You are old, yeah.
Yes, I am 41 years old. This is
fucking ancient. It's not nursing home.
Yeah, nursing home status, absolutely. This is absolutely accurate. But you know, Alexa and I have been friends for quite some time, for over about 2.5 years now, and like she and I have been talking for quite some time about like a variety of different issues. And the only thing that like the things we talk about is like, you know, nerd shit, like the cool stuff that's going on. But sometimes I like to drive her batshit crazy by pronouncing words like coyote and shit. So
he's saying he's a retard. That's what he said.
Yep, this is it. But yeah, but like it's like usually I'll pop on the server and we'll just shoot the shit if you guys are on. But like sometimes like you guys are on, sometimes you're not. It is what it is. So
Yep.
But, yeah. But anyway,
sadly have lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't have much of a life, do I? So
you're a loser.
I'm a fucking loser. That's right. Yes.
God.
But anyway, should we go ahead and just pop into the current events right now?
Yeah. I guess. Right. I guess we can.
Fantastic. All right, so I'll go first as always. So topic number 1, I listened to the State of the Union the other day, and well, I wasn't gonna watch it because it started at 9 o'clock, and I'm an early bird. I gotta get up early in the fucking morning and shit like that, so I didn't want to stay up all night watching it. But I watched it while I was in the morning. I drank my coffee. I gotta say, it was probably one of Biden's better speeches. He tossed some serious shade at the Republicans and tossed a lot of shade at his predecessor. Now, I thought it was great that he didn't mention his name. He laid out all the accomplishments of the last year, but I seriously get annoyed with all the fucking clapping after almost every single sentence. It's why I believe that all State of the Unions have to be held in the Oval Office, honestly. Because nothing is more annoying than watching the president say, "My fellow Americans, welcome to the State of the Union."
Yeah, it's so annoying.
We are doing great things regarding women's healthcare. Applause and cheering and standing ovation for 2 minutes. It's like, no, stop it. No. It never ends. Like, I feel like the State of the Union would be over so much faster if they didn't like how FDR used to do his fireside chats, essentially. Like for the past 8 years that I've actually been watching the State of the Unions, this has bothered me more than anything else. It's so freaking obnoxious. Just like every sentence. It is. It's like,
imagine going back in time to like the Gettysburg Address with like Abraham Lincoln, and every time he's like, "We're here to state America," stands up, "Oh my God, slavery, oh my God."
It's just, it's so bad. I mean, it's like, that's why like after every, like in a concert, you don't clap halfway through the song. You just wait for the song to end, and then you start clapping and stuff like that. But as a whole, again, the whole speech was good, but it's a lot to unpack. I'm not going to cover the whole entire thing, just the parts that I like, and the parts I was like, that was kind of mid. So for starters, I like the fact that he mentioned the infrastructure bill. With people who voted against it seem to love that funding when it actually came to bring better opportunities for their districts. Like Tommy Tuberville, like he voted against the infrastructure bill, but he bragged all about that infrastructure came for the high-speed internet that came to his district. Now, to me, infrastructure is very, very important, especially in my line of work. Faulty infrastructure takes away opportunities and makes life a hell of a lot more difficult. Certain roads that need maintaining will not get fixed. It may cause road accidents. When it does, it causes delays. If a bridge doesn't get fixed, traffic is rerouted for miles. If public transportation goes down, it puts people in a predicament and makes it harder for them to be able to get to work on time. Infrastructure is what keeps society functioning. That's a positive. The next positive was the support of unions and pro-choice for women, essentially. He brought the president of the UAW, who mouthed out a thank you to Biden to the State of the Unions. And you can bet your bottom dollar that people in the unions, because everyone's going to remember how Biden was the first president in history that stood in line. I mean, optics is everything. Even if people's like, "Oh, that's just for show." People remember stuff like that. Optics is everything, and he stood in line with the union workers. That is huge. When it comes down to the pro-choice women, there were 2 women that were affected by legislation in Texas and Alabama that were next to the First Lady and Maria Shriver, of all people. Now, like I said, optics is everything, and people remember stuff like this, especially when it comes down to the voting booth. Now, the overturning of Roe v. Wade has sent shockwaves in the community of the many women who feel like their right to choose was taken away from them across the country. Now, the 2 women that were there was Katie Cox from Texas, who had a non-viable pregnancy. She and her husband had to leave the state of Texas to get the procedure taken care of because the state of Texas overruled her and the doctor that said, "Yes, we have to do this, or else you're..." They basically denied her getting this taken care of. The other woman was Latoya Beasley, who had her first child through IVF and wanted to expand their family, but due to Alabama's halting of all IVF, this puts their plans on hold, essentially. Now, I covered this last week with Sleeve T Rocks. These are very significant issues, especially for 2024. We saw what happened in 2022 when the right to choose was huge on the ballot, essentially. But now I'm going to cover the 2 bits that I thought were kind of mid. I thought that the Gold Star father getting arrested, even though Biden had nothing to do with that, I don't agree with the father about this, but like, Gold Star parents, it's very, very sensitive for them, They have wounds that are never going to heal, but I think that Biden has told the police not to arrest him, but I think he had other things to worry about. But, maybe escort him outside because he didn't want to cause a further disturbance. Because the one thing is, elected officials causing a disturbance, you can't really do anything about that. But, a father that's still grieving because he's never going to get over that. That's a horrible thing to go through, to lose your son or daughter and whatnot. But, I don't think he should have gotten arrested. That's just fucking stupidity. He didn't do anything.
The death penalty. Yeah. Hang him. Straight to the gallows.
Oh, Minecraft. Anyway, but no, I don't think he should have gotten arrested for that. It's because all that's going to do is just going to create more chaos, and more people on the right are saying, "Oh, look what Biden's done." The other thing that I thought was kind of mid was getting in a shouting match with Marjorie Trader Green. Yes, I call her Marjorie Trader Green. She's already dishonored herself by wearing a MAGA hat, and she pretended to care about the death of Laken Riley, who was killed by an alleged illegal immigrant. Which, here's something that really bothers me about that. There are more people that are upset about the fact that Biden said alleged illegal immigrant. I'm sorry. If you kill somebody, I don't give a fuck what people call you, okay? I don't give a shit. I'm very respectful, usually, and I'll usually say migrants. But the second you start breaking the law and killing people, I don't give a shit. We'll call you whatever the fuck we want to. I don't give a shit. But one is obviously worse than the other. Now, I usually don't use the term, but when you break the law, like I said, the PC shit goes out the fucking door. Well, anyway, Biden once again decided to engage with the blonde bimbo from the backwoods of Georgia, the Ku Klux Klan, and it was cringy. I mean, I have no issue with him, blasting the MAGA GOP as a whole. He, was holding to account as listen, these guys want to make, sunset Social Security. Oh, you don't want to do that? Oh, well, that's good to hear. Oh, you don't want to give, billionaires $2 trillion tax cuts? That's good to hear. I love the fact that he did it, but engaging one-on-one with Marge was just, I don't know. The woman's just dumber than a box of hammers. So anyway, those are my thoughts about it. Alexa, I know it's a lot to unpack, but what did you think of the State of the Union?
So I think I'll do a similar thing. So I think the first big thing was when instead of saying we will work on getting back Roe v. Wade, he puts his fist down and goes, "We will do this," and then looks directly at the Supreme Court, which is a big dick move, and said, "If you try to stop me," and then pretty much with more just said, "If you think you have the power, let's see who has the power." That's a big dick move. That's a big dick Joe Biden move right there. That's a fucking I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a move. I think with the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, the thing that I will always find kind of annoying is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, it doesn't have that long in the political spotlight. She's disliked by the right pretty predominantly. She's not she has her district of Georgia that she's super popular in, but other than that, Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't that popular. It shows that most conservatives, most moderates don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Democrats hate her, right? So her time in the spotlight's fairly small. So I do think it was a bit ridiculous and goofy for him to even begin to kowtow to such a level, right? It's you're the president of the United States. She's bottom of the rut. She's a fucking nobody, virtually. She has a few years left, and then we will never hear about Marjorie Taylor Greene ever fucking again. It's super goofy. I think that how he really kind of targeted very specific people, and how the camera would pan to those people and he would really grill them is a super good move, actually, because love it or hate it, one of the big things that actually led people to liking Donald Trump was that kind of behavior. But the difference was when Donald Trump did it, he sounded like a Neanderthal. Ted Cruz, your wife, she's a fat bitch. But people found that funny, they found it entertaining, they found it engaging, because rednecks were yeah, that's right, my wife's also a fat bitch. So that move I think was good. I think the part that I think was very risky was him officially kind of taking his stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, because even though I generally agree with what he said and the actions, he did a really big move that could very severely hurt him or actually help him. And it's I really don't know yet. Where he took this position of being like, opens up and goes, Hamas are terrorists, right? Which they are. And he says, they are terrorists, and we are going to get these people back no matter what, right? And then on the second hand goes, but you, Israel, need to be held responsible for your actions. You need to diminish the amount of innocent lives that you are killing. And it is unacceptable what you're doing. And then again, states once more that Hamas needs to be stopped no matter what, and then goes, America specifically will be sending aid to the Gaza Strip on the southern half of the Gaza Strip. The thing that makes this a really tricky situation is he's trying to placate the both sides at the same time, which can work or it can severely backfire, because it can seem that he's a coward in some people's eyes, and it can also seem like what he did was actually, a better solution. And it's really hard to tell how this will sway voters. So this is a really big problem and a really big thing. We can look at what just happened in Michigan with all the polling that just came through there. It had a massive influx and a big response that people were not happy with how he's treated the Israel v Palestine conflict. So I think that it's a very abrasive move to finally take a really specific stance that he did. And I think kind of I guess the other part that I think that was super important is I do find it, I don't know, maybe this is just a me thing. I don't really care for the whole, I brought these 7 people here, and now we're going to point at them for 5 minutes and say, you're a good person. Everyone point the cameras at them. And I'm gonna say you. It feels very cliche. It feels like an SNL sketch. I don't really like that stuff. Maybe it works. I think it looks really cheesy. I get the point of it, but I think it looks really goofy. And it looks really cliche to do that. I think that you can talk about situations without then having to put the spotlight on the specific people who are having it, and then do this whole thing where everyone gets up and claps and cheers, and everyone points their finger and goes, "Oh, girl!" That shit's cringe. I just find that shit just to be extremely over the top, and it feels super scripted. I don't like it.
I gotcha. Regarding that Israel-Palestine thing, I've spoken about this in great detail. It's a really tricky situation because no matter what, he's got to be fucked up. People are going to look at him like, oh, you're screwed up, because if he doesn't support Israel, he's going to be looked at as anti-Semite. If he doesn't support Palestine, he's going to look like as somebody that's supporting genocide. And I think you're right. He has to be as middle ground as possible. But I think it's really it's hard for any president in any situation. If you pick one side, it's not going to matter. Even if you stay in the middle ground, people are going to hate you for it. It's so hard being in a position like this, essentially, because people talk about Russia, Ukraine. I mean, that's one topic, but this one, it's specifically religious, which that sends shockwaves across the entire world, essentially. And that's why when it comes down to if you support Israel, that means you support genocide of Palestine, which I think is not true. Nobody's I don't support the genocide of Palestine, right? And I've been very vocal about this. He actually talked about how they're going to bring in ports, that way the people of Palestine could get aid. I think that's a good move, but people are losing their shit over this. Oh, why isn't he supporting Israel? He is supporting Israel. He's been taking a lot of flack for supporting Israel, like you mentioned. The Muslim community is what the fuck are you doing? This is fucked up. But, when you got people who's in certain communities well, I'm not going to vote for Biden. It's well, who the fuck are you going to vote for then? You going to vote for RFK Jr.? You going to vote for Trump? I mean, it's
really funny to see how far he's fallen off, actually, because there were so many people going nuts over him. But it's... So for me, right, I'll make this very clear. I'm pretty anti-Israel. I'm not anti-Israel because I'm anti-Semitic or stuff like that. I'm anti-Israel because I think that a lot of the actions that have been done by Israel and the situations that they have created a lot of things that have led to these situations, right?
Sure.
The idea of terrorists, they are straight facts. the vast majority of like Israel's politicians are warlords, disgusting genocidal monsters, and a lot of the people at the very top are just some of the most deplorable people in power, like that you can imagine. And a lot of these situations that have happened within like the Gaza Strip and with Hamas stuff like that, a lot of these are consequences of Israel, right? A lot of this is like a consequence. Now, obviously, Gaza has their problems a lot. And it's bad. It's a shithole. But it's a shithole for very specific reasons. And the reason it's so bad is because of a situation that Israel's built. But the issue kind of comes that when you're the president of the United States and you kind of take a position where you're like, hey, we can't sit by anymore and just keep letting you bomb like hospitals and nursing homes and daycares, stuff like that, and just willy-nilly not worry about human lives, right?
Sure.
And I think that again, I generally agreed with what Joe Biden said on what should happen, right? I think that it was actually a pretty good move. Now, personally, I would have liked to see a little bit more firm of hand with Israel, but I understand why he didn't.
Sure.
Right? But it's like, I think that it's good that he's like, hey, like, this cannot continue. America cannot stand by you, Israel, if you continue to just lambast, like, civilians left and right, and just go, oh, there may be terrorists. Like an example of this is the refugee camp, where they bombed the refugee camp and killed just tons and tons of women and children predominantly. And then they go, well, we thought that there could have been terrorists. Like, you thought. You fucking thought. What do you mean you thought? That's not how that works. You don't go, I think there might be this murder there, so Waco them. Like that's not how this works.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that it will be interesting to see like how this will pan out for the election, because obviously this is a really big situation that has swayed a lot of people's opinions on Joe Biden, especially because there's a lot of people who have like completely changed their opinion one way or another with Joe Biden because of this situation. Right, the far left, right, have pretty heavily turned against Joe Biden as of recently because of the situation. But the more liberals, libs, and stuff like that love the guy now. Like they fucking sing Joe Biden's praises. They think he's the greatest since sliced fucking bread. So it's really interesting to know how that might pan out.
Well, the thing is like. To say that he's like the greatest thing next to I know that's not what you're saying, but there are people out there saying he's the best president ever. That's by no metric is that true. I'm still going to vote for him in 2024. There's no doubt about that because it's him and Trump. I mean, I'm not certainly going to vote for Trump, and I have all my reasons for that. But the thing is like, do I think he's like the best person as of right now? He is the best person right now. I mean, has he been perfect? Of course not. There's a lot of things that I can be very critical about Joe Biden on. And, like I said, there are some policy decisions that he's made that I'm very, very, very critical about. Like, I know there are some things that he's over-exaggerated his numbers on, but every president does that. Everybody fucking over-exaggerates the numbers to make themselves sound good, because, like that, again, that's why, like, it drives me nuts whenever I see, like, when Trump was in office, when he says a great accomplishment, one side would be standing ovation, the other side would be quiet as a church, as a graveyard. And then when Biden's in office, the left side is just cheering, oh my God! And then the right side is
WWE fucking event. It's
that's why it just needs to be held in the Oval Office. It would be so much easier that way. I would have more respect for that, But it's just, it's to me it's very cringy, honestly. But I said, like there are some things that like I felt were good about that State of the Union address, but there are some things I'm like. Really? Like, there are fact checkers that are fact checking them like left and right, which I appreciate the fact they're doing that. Like one of the things they talked about is like the amount of 15 million jobs. For example, he did not create 15 million jobs. Some of these jobs that came back were actually jobs that were coming out from COVID, but actually he's created a fuck ton of jobs. Like the Inflation Reduction Act has created millions of government jobs, which is good. The infrastructure bill has created more opportunities and jobs for people to like basically like help rebuild our infrastructure. Those are all good, positive things. Like, these are things that are actually, like, when people talk about, oh, America first, America first. Well, these are opportunities that make America first, essentially. It's just like, this is the kind of stuff that, like, that makes things better for America. Not like
but Joe Biden did it.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's one thing to just talk, oh, I love the America. This is why there's a difference between patriotism and nationalism. Like, nationalism is just people that blindly love the country and whatnot, but they don't, like, oh, everything's fine and dandy, everything's fantastic. There are so many great things going on. But a patriot realizes that there are things that need to be fixed in this country. And again, he recognizes that there's still a long way to go. And he's actually said, we still got a lot of work to do. And I recognize that. That is the way it's being realistic about it. And again, I don't look at him as the greatest president of all time. That's never going to happen. I don't think he's going to be remembered as the greatest president of all time. But he's going to be looked at as a guy that kind of inherited a fucking problem, a fuck ton of problems, But, it's just, as a whole, I love the fact that so many people are losing their shit. Because, like, people lost their shit with Joe Biden because he pronounced Laken Riley's name wrong. They literally lost their shit over that. Like, he was going to talk about, like, what was going on. But Marjorie Taylor Greene said, oh, say her name. Like, he gives a shit, I mean, like she doesn't give a flying fuck about her.
Yeah.
They're going to forget about... They're going to forget about Laken Riley in a year, in a month. Like, they don't give... I know they just passed legislation for that.
Laken who?
Yeah, but, they're not going to give a damn about her because there have been people killed consistently, like, over different circumstances, but... One side will make excuses for it, but then the other side will be like, oh, well, we have to remember this, but then they'll just ignore it and forget it until the next victim comes around. So
yeah, pretty much. That's how it works, right? I will say some of the things that, like, obviously, a lot of things they said State Union will never come true, right? A lot of things will happen, they won't ever happen. That's just kind of this works, right? It's general politics 101. They say 100 things, 2 things come true. But, like, the one thing that I really do hope that really goes through that he said that I was like, oh yeah, do that. Like, is the whole $8 cap on, overcharge fees. That's fucking turbo based, right? That's fucking turbo based. The reducing the cost of, like, insulin. I'm super behind that. I take care of a 90-year-old woman who has type 1 diabetes. I know, like, by taking care of her, and also my grandfather who also had diabetes, stuff like that. It's like, that stuff is insanely expensive. And, like, when he's like, yeah, we are going to cut this cost down, we're going to cap it, we're going to make sure that it's more efficient, more cost efficient, easier access, stuff like that. I was like, fuck yes, these are the things that I look for, right? Because a lot of things, right, like, what will sway my vote is things that directly impact me, right? I'm like most people in the world. Like, if you're saying things like, hey, we're going to, and, like, a lot of things, like, if you are saying things that are directly going to help the livelihood of my grandmother and people who are in my life, I'm going to be far more charitable because you're saying things like, yeah, because these things don't just affect me, they affect millions of people, tens of millions of people. This does affect. So I think, like, saying, like, hey, like, we're not allowing big pharma to price gouge this stuff anymore. We're not allowing.
Oh, we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah. It's like I like that stuff. I'm so for, because again, my 9-year-old, she's 90 years old. She's obviously she's old. She's got type 1 diabetes. All these things, and, like, the medical system and big pharma, they will fucking destroy you. They will destroy you.
Yeah,
and
we'll be covering. We'll be covering that. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that just yet, because, like, that's the next topic, and that. When I watched that video, I was like, "Oh my fucking god, that was insane!" But but, like, at the end of the day, like, the State of the Union is nothing more than pomp and circumstance. It's really just that's why, like, just keep it in the Oval Office. I don't like seeing people clap. I don't like celebrating people like they're God. I don't like that shit. This is the reason why, like, I don't like. I seriously have a huge problem with hero worship for elected officials. They're not heroes. They are just people that we elect into office, and eventually they're going to be gone. But for some reason, some people seem to think that there's hero worship. No. You can give credit where credit's due. You can be critical. And this is why I say, like, if people have legitimate criticisms of Biden, I will hear them out. But half the people are just critical of Joe Biden because, they're all up in their fifis, essentially. They don't give a shit. They don't care.
Well, it seems like someone has one. So, Alex, in my server, Mr. CT Todd, former politically provoked moderator has asked me to please give you this information. He says, "Please give Alex this data." He's wrong as usual. Afternoon, crazy stats about the true state of the labor market. You won't hear anywhere else. In the past year, the U.S. has lost 284K full-time jobs. These have been replaced with 921K part-time jobs. In February alone, a record of 1.2 million foreign-born jobs were added. In the past 3 months, a record ex-COVID crash, 2.4 million native-born jobs have been lost, including 494K jobs lost in February. Most shocking, since May 2018, there has been 0 jobs created for native-born Americans. All jobs in the past 6 years have gone to immigrant, illegals, and legal and illegal immigrants.
I would love to know the source of that, honestly.
Here I will forward his source.
Well, I'm not going to read the source, honestly, but what's the source, actually?
It's from Twitter, or X. It's by a guy called Zero Hedge, and then...
Zero Hedge is bullshit, okay? Zero Hedge, there's a reason why Zero Hedge has very low credibility, essentially. I look into Zero Hedge, and as a matter of fact, they have very low credibility. They're about as reliable as fucking... What's it called? Who's the guy that ran that goddamn Patriot? God, I'm losing my mind right now, because they have zero to no credibility whatsoever. Like a very, very low credibility. That would be like me asking OAN or CNN to give me some. I want like an actual real data source, essentially. So, Labor Department. So Todd says Labor Department, essentially. Okay, so he says since 2018. Okay, so what happened? Who was president in 2018 again?
Obama.
Oh, yeah, he'll probably say Obama. But no, like, the thing is like, we are creating jobs in this country. Like, as a matter of fact, with the Inflation Reduction Act, there are more government jobs that have been created. Like, for example, in the park services, more jobs have been created because of the Inflation Reduction Act. And you've also got jobs being created with these, wind turbines, essentially, which, wind turbines aren't perfect. But the thing is, you got to create the technology. And if it doesn't work, what do you do with the technology? You enhance it. You make it better, essentially. And I remember, Lauren Handjob Boebert was complaining about how this was going to be a disaster, but yet jobs are being created in the fucking district that she left, in the 3rd district of Colorado, and now she's complaining about it, but yet it's created more jobs in that district. So what the fuck exactly? I mean, I'm all about jobs staying in America. The Chips and Science Act has kept us competitive with China. Isn't that a great thing? I think that that's a great thing. The semiconductor jobs staying here in America. Holy shit. This is good stuff. And anybody can try to argue with me about it, but they would just be wrong. Like, that's what the Chips and Science Act is supposed to do, to keep semiconductor jobs here in America, not overseas. Because remember when the tariffs happened under Trump? I'm not trying to go all TDS over here, but like when the Trump's tariffs happened, jobs were being exported overseas, essentially. Why? Because it's cheaper to make products overseas and then have them sent back over here, which is bullshit, honestly. If you want good quality products, have them made here in America. But if you want to talk, it's going to make things more expensive, well, guess what? That's just a whole separate issue. So, but
anyway. I would actually, this is a side thing, I would fucking love to actually have a debate between you, Alex, and Todd on just on like Trump versus Biden. That would be like. That would be great. I thought that would be like a really funny.
We'll see.
Like that'd be good content, I think.
We'll see. I mean, I'm sure he would love that. He said he'd invite me onto a server, but I don't know what server it would be on for us to have a discussion about this. But he said he would just mop the floor with me. But he's never mopped the floor with me. Let's put it that way. Todd's not a bad dude, but he's never mopped the floor with me. So he'll probably mulled over that. So he'll probably get really mad about that. So. But anyway, did you have anything else you want to add as far as the State of the Union, Alexa?
I think I think that's like, I think we go over the basics of like what
Sure.
State of the Union. Like I generally agree that like the whole clapping thing is super fucking cringy.
Very.
They need to stop doing it. I like I said, I want them to stop doing the whole showboating thing where it's like, we brought 7 special guests. Like, stop doing that. That shit's stupid. Like, just stop. It feels like we're writing a fucking like TV script. It's goofy and dumb. I will say, the fuck is his name? The guy who sits right next to Kamala Harris.
Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House.
Mike Johnson. I forgot his name from Mike. I will say my favorite scene was watching his like reactions to everything that was being said, like how he was like no, it's how grumpy he looked like the whole
Yeah.
time and how it would change, and then the few times that he's like fuck I gotta stand up. Oh, all right. Well, I'm clapping. See, because I support. Like he did not seem like he was having a good time.
No, not at all. Like, here's the thing. When Kevin McCarthy was the Speaker of the House, I love the fact that it took like 15 different votes sessions in order to get him elected. I was like, this guy's in fucking trouble. Nobody likes this guy. And then when they realized we don't like this guy, and then it took them forever to have Mike Johnson. I thought that this goes to show like how many problems there are and how much disarray there is in the conservative base. Like, because like you've got regular Republicans and you got the MAGA Republicans. It's two different. They are completely fractured essentially, and that's a problem right now. And with Mike Johnson, I have no problem with the fact that he's religious, but I don't think he's principled. Honestly, I'll put it that way. But I think it's just. I have there's a lot of issues, but I don't want to really kind of get into like the Speaker of the House really, but it's just, I feel like he's right now under the thumb. He is terrified of losing his position right now. That's why he was afraid to stand up and agree, or even if it was something he might have agreed with, he was afraid of agreeing with something because he knows there's one person in particular who's watching. Trump. Trump is watching. He is terrified. People are terrified of Trump because if Trump cancels them out, they are fucked. There are people that are like, oh my god, Trump says this guy sucks, so let's vote against this guy next time. I mean, fucking Karen is going to come out of the woodwork. It's like, we hate Mike Johnson now. I mean, this is why it's a cult. This is why it is a cult. This is why, like,
My cult.
It's not my cult. Hell, fuck no. I mean, I'm not even a cult of Biden. If Biden is found guilty of anything, by all means, bring the evidence. But they have shit for evidence, so... But anyway.
What about Hunter Biden's laptop?
Oh, fuck Hunter Biden. I don't give a shit. If you want to prosecute Hunter Biden, by all means, bring the evidence. And if you have the proof...
Well, there it is, people. Alex Kurz doesn't care about the real incriminating evidence of Joe Biden. You see it here, folks. The hypocrisy that these leftists have.
Oh, absolutely, right? But I'm serious, though. It's like, if there is proof that Hunter Biden did something illegal, a lot of us say, who gives a shit? We're not loyal... I guess I won't be voting for Hunter Biden for election then. I mean, I'm very consistent about this. I've been saying this for months. If you have proof that Hunter Biden is crooked about something, by all means, bring evidence, bring charges. But so far, they have produced what? A fucking goose egg, baby. Goose egg. So, anyway, what do you got to talk about? What's your first topic, Alexa?
Obviously, I mean, the world is in tears right now. We lost the creator of Dragon Ball. We'll have to, we have to mourn our loss of the man who created Dragon Ball Z. And don't say anything else, or you will literally, you'll end up like people on Twitter who got literally swatted and shit like that. I think, so one of the things that have kind of come up recently is once again, the banning of TikTok. That's become the round table discussion. But the thing that I actually would think that would be an interesting conversation is how dangerous the internet has become for just kids in recent times, and how the government is now directly getting involved with moderation of the internet, right? So we saw Joe Biden said hey, we're going to make certain things with AI be illegal. We're seeing TikTok actually seeming to be a bit scared now that TikTok might get banned out of America for the first time ever, which I don't think will happen. But TikTok put out a whole big thing saying, I only snap it, and now we're seeing in real time, with the passing of the man who created Dragon Ball, and people, shitting on them, those same people are now having to go into government protection because people are getting them swatted. People show up to their house and stuff like that, and it's crazy. It's fucking wild. So I guess the thing to kind of have a discussion about is what do you think the government should be doing about protecting the people and kids when it comes to internet to the internet spaces? Because it seems like this is becoming more and more of a problem where the government actually is trying to start to get involved in things.
For starters, I think it's stupid to ban TikTok. if anything, people should be utilizing TikTok because it's the most popular platform aside from like Facebook. Like people use TikTok more often than Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. So to ban it, just be, I remember when what's this fucking goofy Gatorade brain ass, the guy from fucking Arkansas, Tom Cotton. He was asking the guy who's like the CEO of TikTok, have you ever been a Chinese citizen? The guy's from fucking Singapore. The guy made it abundantly clear he is not a Chinese asset whatsoever.
When I connect my internet to the TikTok, does the Chinese own my internet?
Yeah, I mean, just because the guy's fucking Asian does not make him Chinese, you fucking jackass. I mean, but Tom Cotton's dumb as a box of hammers, The thing is like, when it comes down to the protection of people, when it comes to social media, if you're an adult, if your feelings get hurt on social media, get the fuck off social media, okay? Because it is brutal. It is fucking brutal. I've had more death threats and I've had people tell me to, TOS myself multiple times. But you know what? I can deal with it. I got thick skin. It's fine. People can be critical. People can hate me. I don't give a shit. It does not bother me. It doesn't faze me whatsoever. But not everybody is like me. If stuff like this that you see on social media bothers you, then maybe you should just take a break from social media, essentially. Now, as far as like children being on social media, should the tech companies bear some responsibility? Maybe, but it's not much. I think parents need to be more accountable about what their children are consuming, essentially. I leave it up to parenting, essentially. And it's easy for me to say because I'm not a parent, but I was a kid once. My parents had strict boundaries and guidelines, essentially. There's nothing wrong with parents telling their kids, hey, don't watch this shit, okay? Do not be consuming this kind of content. Because the internet is really toxic. There's people out there that don't give a damn who you are, where you're from. They will tell you to Minecraft yourself, TOS related, essentially. And some people take that shit to heart, which is heartbreaking to hear about. But the thing is, like, that's why people have got to be wary about this thing. But, I don't know if that really answered your question, essentially.
Sure. I guess to kind of state my position is that the way that I can view it is it's funny, on Discord, I'm generally pretty anti-social media. Like, we've proven time and time again with, like, massive studies, like, social media has negative effects on society, right? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all these other things, they are legitimately a cancerous stain on society. And myself personally, like, I would actually be completely in support of banning things like TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and these things, because I think they're bad for society. They are objectively like bad stains on society. Do I think that will ever happen? No, I don't. I think that there's a lot of like money being involved, stuff like that. I personally, I think that these whole TikTok hearings are psyops, unironically. Like, it's like the way that they like hold conversations, stuff like that. Same thing with Facebook. A lot of those things just seem like staged events that are paid off $1 billion corporations. But it's like, I think that the issue kind of comes is, I think that is really good to actually see, like, the government finally being like, hey, this like AI generated stuff, and it's a problem. Like, and there's a very real reality that like crime scenes and fake crimes might happen that'll be staged by AI. Right, and they're now saying like we're gonna say this stuff's illegal. We can't use this stuff because it's already gotten to such a point where people are like there have been court trials now in local situations where there was AI generated scenes that happened to try to frame people for crimes. Right, this has already started to happen, and so like the thing I find terrifying is that with how much social media seems to radicalize people, and with COVID, how everyone was kind of forced to kind of join social media, and now people are consumed and enamored with social media, it seems that it's become a problem is that there has to be some level of restrictions, especially when it comes to kids, because it's like, I mean, there's heightened levels of violence, there's heightened levels of suicide, heightened levels of like all sorts of different things since since we're kind of out of the COVID era. And a lot of this seems to be a consequence of social media. And how toxic and a violent nature that this kind of place can be. And as you stated, most people aren't like you. Most people aren't like me either, right? I can deal with shit. But most people aren't that way. Most people can be radicalized by just a handful of people saying they don't like them. Most people can be radicalized just by seeing the most minor thing and going, "Oh man, this must be everyone now. I get cast a broad veil, and I need to go tell everyone else in my family this is the case." And I don't like. I've always said this before, like, if TikTok was banned, I think that would be a massive W, a huge W. Fuck TikTok, right? And I'm not saying fuck TikTok because it's the Chinese malware. I'm saying fuck TikTok is bad for society. It's a fucking repugnant fucking platform. But I don't think it'll ever happen. And when it comes to children, I don't think that, I legitimately hold that 0 kids should have internet access until they're like 17 or 18. Straight up. Like, I think that, like, it should just be against the law for any kid to have unfiltered internet access until they're like 18 years old. At one point, I would have said younger, but it's like at this point, with like the pedophilia issues that are had, the cults that have been built, the radicalization, the propaganda, all these things, it's legitimately a dangerous thing for children to have unfiltered internet access to this day, because they will consume content that can legitimately warp their fucking brain in really disgusting ways. And like, we're seeing that in like real time right now with parents who give their kids like iPads when they're fucking 6 years old and thinking like that's a fucking that's a fucking normal thing to do. That's bad. That should be fucking illegal. Like, that is not okay.
Oh, sure. So the interesting thing about that is that, like, I attended a human trafficking rally. Not much of a rally, but it was more of a gathering in Georgia in, I think it was 2019, I think it was. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, the district attorney for DeKalb County talked about, like, they actually caught a guy that was a predator. He wasn't like a trafficker. He was a predator. He was the kind of guy that, like, would recruit girls and then, like, sell them. That's what they are, essentially. And they talk about, like, how the things they look out for is they look for the teens that are saying things like, my parents don't understand me, nobody gets me, nobody understands me. They look for stuff like that. One guy even went out and said, one predator they even had said, I can go to a mall, sit in a food court, and I can find one person, and I can say, I will know everything I know about that person in 5 minutes based upon how they interact with everybody else. Which is frightening, honestly. So I get why you're saying it's like why like some teens shouldn't have access to the internet, because there are dangerous people out there. I 100% agree with you. But it's not so much the sex traffickers, the predators that are out there, like people that are like looking to exploit them. I worry about the people that influence. Like, let's remember the case about like the young teen that actually encouraged the guy to commit suicide. That is a very real thing. And that's why, like, when it comes down to, like, parents have to be aware about what kind of content their children are consuming. Because, growing up, I didn't really have much of the internet until, like, I was about 8th grade, freshman year in high school. I didn't have the internet. My internet was going to the library to check out books and shit, right? So anyway, once the internet came out, I found myself, like, in chat rooms, Yahoo Messenger and things like that. And I immediately found out that people are cruel online. People say some really fucked up shit online. And it's even worse today. And like you and I have already pretty much agreed upon, that people have got to be worried about what kind of content is out there. Now, TikTok doesn't really bother me as much. The same kind of content you can see on TikTok, you can see on YouTube, you can see on Instagram, you can see on Facebook. It's all around. It's just TikTok is like 30-second reels, and then boom, that's it. It doesn't really bother me as much. I like to go on TikTok because I find really amusing videos, and I am a sucker for TikTok. What can I say? Maybe I'm just a degenerate. I don't know.
Oh, fuck, I was muted. I said a whole line of things, and I've been fucking muted like an absolute troglodyte. Holy shit. Yeah, I just said, I was like, Alex Kirsch is part of the problem. He's been brainwashed. He's been convinced. He is part of the system. He is paid off. He's a paid actor and stuff. like to kind of like go with an extension here. So like I didn't really have internet until like 17 or 18, right?
Sure.
And I am way better off for that, right? I still wasn't really like active on the internet, not really until like 2020 2021 around COVID, right? Because I was out working and had a job, and like I was doing real life things. But like we've seen now, the like one of the consequences of COVID has been that this line between our real lives and the internet life have become blurred. That line that used to be very drawn, like it was drawn in the sand, it was a very clear line that like this is what real life is like, this is what the internet life is like, has become almost like merged together, right? Because
Sure.
in just my experience, even I've seen so many people who I knew for years and years and years who were normal everyday people, and then after COVID ended, they held some of those vile, disgusting, repugnant opinions because they were they were radicalized on the internet. Right, and this happened to so many people.
Yeah.
This is why we've seen more violent riots. This is why we've seen more violent actions against other people. This is why we've seen a heightened elevate of hate crimes, stuff like that. These things are obviously linked because they directly happen right after each other. And and I think part of the reason what's happened is that we have put the spotlight on the most mentally deranged people of society, and it's in your face 24/7, right? It's depressing. Turn on the news, what do you see? Local insane person in another person's face today. So, 7 children were axe murdered. All these different things, and it's super repugnant stuff all the time. It's always just spit in your face. And one of my big things I'm saying, like, yeah, I think like it would generally be better for society if we just got rid of social media, is because it would disconnect this constant cycle of disgusting, degenerate, stuff being just thrown down your throat 24/7, and that especially holds for children, where I think it has to be this way, or it is legitimately going to keep fucking us over as a society, the world. Like, because I think that it really is going to create more and more of a problem where we think that these types of behaviors are okay and acceptable and stuff like that. Like seeing so many people like sit in the middle of highways to protest things and fucking like, that is not normal. That is not a normal behavior. You get run over, like that's your fault, right? These are not normal behaviors. Normal behaviors aren't going on people's property and fucking burning flags on people's property, whether you like it or not. These are not normal behaviors, and these are things that people have become believing that is normal because of the internet and because of the age of social media. And I think it has to stop. I don't think it will, sadly, but I would really hope that one day it will, because I think it is legitimately warping our fucking brains.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, if there's anything that drives me crazy most is like when I see people protesting in the middle. Like, if you're on the side of the road holding up banners, I don't give a shit. You're exercising your First Amendment right. But if you're standing in the middle of the road, I just think you're an idiot. It's sort of the same thing as like a guy that feels like he needs to flex by like putting a rifle on his back to go to a subway. You look like a fucking moron, honestly. Not because you're exercising your Second Amendment right, because you're doing it in a way that's like nobody gives a shit, okay? But like, I'm a firm believer when it comes down to rights come with some level of responsibility. Just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should, honestly. Now, when it comes to social media, there comes a certain level of responsibility. If somebody says something on social media, and if you've got a large following and people take that shit to heart, and people say, well, this guy said it, you've got to take some level of responsibility, essentially. Like, okay, here's a great example. After Sandy Hook took place, Alex Jones went off talking about how this was a psyop, that no children actually died. And guess what happened afterwards? People actually went to the families of children that were killed at Sandy Hook, and they harassed them. Said, oh, your child isn't actually dead. Your child's an actor. There is some level of responsibility with content creators, essentially. If, for example, if I see a content creator eat a Tide Pod, I'm 41 years old. I'm smart enough to not know not to eat a fucking Tide Pod. Now, if a 10-year-old child sees this on Twitch or something, they're going to be like, this guy's got 57,000 people in his chat right now, and he says, eat your Tide Pod. I'm not going to blame the child, because the child is easily impressionable. Now, a lot of us weren't as easily impressionable, because we knew that Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam is not really a a real life. But some people see this content creator eating a Tide Pod. They're like, oh, let me do that and let me live stream this so people can watch this shit. Yes, the content creator does bear some responsibility, but I think the platform itself should also take some responsibility and not allow that kind of shit to take place. But again, this is why I say the parents have got to get involved with what their children are consuming, essentially. Because, growing up for me, because I'm old as fuck, as you say, my parents were very strict about what I could and could not watch. Like, if I wanted to watch a movie, they would watch it with me, essentially. People think it's ridiculous, but no, that's what being a responsible parent is. There were certain video games I couldn't play, even though it was like the cheesy-ass Game Boy, because some people think it's like minute, but there's a reason for that. Some people need to understand, and like at the same rally, there was a woman who was a sex trafficking survivor by the name of Gabby Humphreys. She says she had the talk with one of her oldest son at the age of 9, because the average age that a child has a cell phone is 11. 11 years old. 11 years old. That's the average age that a child has a cell phone. She had the talk with her son at 9 years old, and she showed him like pornography, not to like get him aroused, but to educate him. It's like, this is fantasy. This is not based upon anything that's real. This is not reality. Men do not treat women like this because, not every child's going to have that conversation with their parents. Some parents are not going to give a shit what their kids see, and their kids are going to just like view whatever, and they're going to share it with their friends because they think they're cool. Because kids like to do shit like that. They like to be cool. They like to be the cool kids in class. But that's why it's all the more important for, we have to monitor what children are seeing on social media. I mean, that's just my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, and I generally agree. I just think that the issue is that often we've seen that like social media isn't taking any responsibility because it makes them too much money, right?
Yeah.
And because the extension of they're not taking this responsibility, like I think there has to be legal actions done, and there has to be really strict legal action done because this isn't happening, right? And like I'm a person who generally like if we don't have to get the government involved, I don't want to do it, right? Because I think oftentimes like if we can keep the government out of things, it's generally better. But it's come to that point where it's like this has become dangerous. This has become a problem. This has become a dangerous thing for society. This has become a dangerous thing for kids. It needs to be fixed. And I think that's really where it is. And I think that I think it's one of the bigger issues within kind of our social dynamic of society that we don't really properly talk about. Enough because I think that this is a really big thing because it affects people's lives, it affects people's everyday's outgoing, it's affecting the economy, it's affecting everything we do now is affected by the internet. We can no longer sit here because I used to say this all the time. People on Twitter aren't real, right? People on Facebook aren't real. Can't say that anymore, right? It has become to this point where these people are real. These people are a real thing. And it's like, because of this, now there needs to be real world consequences and real world actions done to combat some of this warped brain behavior that's fucking sociopathic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I can agree to that. The only reason I don't agree is because, like, far too often, especially like with younger generations, whenever something bad has happened, people have had a tendency to blame entertainment and social media. Now, obviously, entertainment is different in a way from like social media. It could be the same thing, but like, again, when it comes down to the youth, I look at the home situation and like what children expose themselves to and like what the parents are doing about it, essentially. That's the first thing I usually look at. Because if you're allowing the entertainment industry to raise your children, then I think you failed as a parent, honestly. Now, it's one thing to like, if you're on a road trip and you just want your children to watch Blue's Clues, that's one thing. But I'm talking about like if your children need attention and you just give them a laptop or an iPad or something like that, because, like you'd rather like go play games yourself, that's a problem.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but like social media is great for staying in contact with families, but it sucks because it really is, in a way. I mean, we use social media all the time. I'm guilty of this. Yeah. I use social media all the time. I'm on Twitter a lot. And I argue with a bunch of fucking idiots all the time.
MAGA people, because you have Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, I've got a serious case of TDS. I'm not going to lie. I'm not even being hyperbolic about it. It's 100% true. But the thing is, I was like, I'm old enough to remember that this is not the real life. I'm just arguing with people for the sake of arguing, or I'm just arguing because these people are fucking stupid and they have got to be corrected. But I'm not expecting the government to do it. I'm doing it because I feel like these people have to be proven that they're wrong, and what they do, they block me anyway. So that's fine. But, like, not everybody is as level-headed. Not everybody can, like, some people, like, I've had death threats on Twitter, and I think it's hilarious. I don't threaten people on Twitter. It's just stupid. But, like, kids can't handle shit like that. That's why, like, I agree.
Hell, most adults can't handle shit like that anymore.
Oh, some adults can't handle. That's why, like, I find it funny when people say that they're gonna threaten to, beat. Like, one guy actually said, "Where the fuck do you live? I think we should fight each other in a boxing match." Like, the fuck? Why the fuck would I do something stupid like that? I mean, seriously, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But some people just can't handle, being proven with facts. So whatevs. So, anyway, what else did you want to cover or do you want to move into the next topic?
Yeah, well, we can go there. I think we kind of like capped that conversation.
Sure, absolutely. That was a good topic right there. Next topic. So, billionaire Mark Cuban was at the White House on Monday to conduct a roundtable on lowering healthcare costs and bringing transparency to prescription drug middlemen. That's essentially what PBMs are, essentially. The fact that there is more coverage on this shows just how we as a country do not take lowering healthcare costs seriously. I mean, you and I, we were going to talk about this earlier. It was like, let's hold off a second. This is my second topic. So for starters, what are PBMs? PBMs are responsible for negotiating costs with drug manufacturers, including discounts and rebates. Now, that's according to Medical News Today. Now, how PBMs get paid is done in a variety of ways. They are paid by holding onto rebates, utilizing clawbacks, and charging administrative fees. Now, administrative fees, when it comes to the healthcare industry, is huge. That's like what makes up a majority of like the cost when it comes down to healthcare, essentially. Now, compared with other first world nations, the U.S. has the highest per capita prescription drug spending with an average of $1,432 per American, and that was in 2021. It's probably more than that now. 1 out of every 3 Americans are unable to take their medication due to the rising costs. Between January 2022 and to January 2023, more than 4,200 drug products had price increases of about 15.2%. Now, the Biden administration has tried to address these rising costs with the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, Medicare enrollees will have their their costs limited to $2,000 annually, which is a good thing. That's annually, $2,000 annually, which is a great thing. Now, the roundtable that covered that while PBMs can be deemed necessary to help those that need their prescription drugs, the communities that are hit the hardest are not the ones in urban communities, but rural communities. Rural communities are more spaced out. They have a harder time with logistics of getting prescription drugs to their pharmacies, and have also found that they are being squeezed out by punishing fees that have been imposed by the PBMs. The White House Task Force launched an investigation as to why so many independent pharmacies in rural areas are going under, and have asked to see the financial files for the PBMs, and as of right now, these PBMs have not fully complied. One man who runs a pharmacy in Winfield, Kansas, by the name of Derek Price, says that according to the National Community of Pharmacists Association, 32% of pharmacy owners across the country may close this year if PBM reform is not made. Now, I looked up how many pharmacies there are in the United States. There's over 44,000 pharmacies alone. Now, 32% from 44,000 is 14,368 pharmacies that's closing across the country. Now, just think about how many millions of people that are going to be put in harm's way because of this if there's no reform done. Now, there are 3 PBMs that control 80% of the marketplace: CVS Health, Optum Rx, and Express Scripts. When Mark Cuban came on and immediately made the statement that the dominant 3 PBMs put stock over health, which I think is 100% accurate. He also stated that one of the main principles that PBMs have is to shit on all the independent pharmacies. He says he couldn't think of a better word for it, but it's appropriate because they know these pharmacies, especially in rural areas, need to get these medications. So they can squeeze as much money out of these small-time pharmacies at any time. A small pharmacy will not be able to pay these, so the PBM performs audit. they know the small farmers can't afford the audit, so they basically it's like, okay, so you didn't do this, you didn't file your paperwork properly, you didn't have people coming in with a certain amount of time, so basically you're looking at a fine of like $200,000 and you got to pay it like right now, as a matter of fact, yesterday. Now, there are an abundance of issues that was covered in this roundtable, and I'm going to be putting a link within the description, essentially. Once this video is over with, it's going to be in the description below, and I advise people to watch it because there's a lot of good information there. But this really, really struck a chord with me because, once again, for a country that claims to be the best in every category, we are doing horrifically bad regarding healthcare and healthcare costs and the coverage of prescription medication. I mean, I don't know about you, Alexa, but this is horrific to think about. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, as I say, like prior, as someone who is like a caretaker of an elderly woman, this is something that is like a huge issue and something that really does kind of like sway like a personal core to me. Pharmaceutical companies are damn right inherently evil, right, and have been for quite a long time. And I don't say that like very light. Right, I don't usually call most things evil and stuff like that, but they are. Right, they have created this. They've created this issue where they can price gouge and fuck over hundreds, thousands, and millions of people due to that. They know that there's nothing else they can do. And this is actually kind of one of those rare situations that actually can be blamed on both the left and the right. Both the left and the right actually inherently don't want to fix this issue. One of the biggest reasons is a lot. If you look, you can look. It's all public information. It's going to be a fun one. You can actually look that most of your biggest politicians have major amounts of money invested into big pharma. Bernie Sanders is actually one of the biggest condoners of this. Bernie Sanders had hundreds of thousands of dollars, close to millions of dollars, into different pharmaceutical companies. Why is that you ask? Well, a lot of your drugs and over-the-counter drugs come from places like China, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, India, and stuff like that. And you wonder why like a lot of these things don't get fixed. It's because most politicians have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars invested into the situation. So it is legitimately good to see for the first time, kind of ever, that there are rich billionaires who are finally being like, hey, like maybe we should do something about this, right? Because the overcharging fees, the overtaxing of things, the price gouging of medicines, and all these different things is just it's just deplorable. It's disgusting. And it should be illegal, right? I think that a lot of the actions that are deemed as so acceptable by the law for pharmacies to do should actually like send a lot of doctors and pharmacists into prison, because what they're doing is just downright illegal. I think one of the things that can lead to a change to this is what kind of Mark Cuban's proposing. That's like, hey, we need to like launch investigations and we need to look into these things more, and we need to like hold like these places accountable, like saying like, hey, this insulin that you go 15 more miles down the road that will cost you $500 less, that'll be $1,000. It's ridiculous, right? And they know they can do it too, and that's the most deplorable part about it, is they can get away with it because they know that like this 80, 90, 70-year-old woman, paraplegic man, whatever it might be, where else are they going to go? They're stuck here, so we can overcharge them. Then the people who work inside the pharmaceutical company, they can pocket the money. Right? You see it all the time where people who work in pharmaceuticals go about, oh yeah, we'll overcharge them and pocket the money and stuff like that. This is a common thing. It's not an uncommon thing. It's not a rare thing. It happens all the fucking time. And there's no accountability held to these things, and there has to be. Because if it's not held accountable, this becomes more and more of a problem. More elderly people die from not being able to get what they need. More people die from not getting the medication they require. And more people suffer as a general society because their loved ones can't be healthy. And it's fucking disgusting. It's fucking deplorable. Like, I'm lucky in the sense, and my grandmother's lucky in the sense, that we both have really good insurance. It's probably because I've made fairly good money in my life. But that's the only reason. If we were poor and stuff like that, my grandmother very well might be dead because of malpractice and mistreatment of the medical system due to how disgusting it is, right? And it's like it really does just hit a core with me to see so many people who were just innocent bystanders of society get completely fucked over because of the predatory behaviors of the pharmaceutical industry and how no one wants to hold it accountable because politicians have so much money invested into it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, when I watched this video, like I had to watch it twice because like each time I listened to it, I was like, "Oh my god, this is horrendous." And like the reason why this bothers me so much because like, me being a veteran, 20 years, I don't have to worry about healthcare for the rest of my life. I am covered completely. I think about the people that don't, like you mentioned, that don't have health insurance. Now, I thought this was like an over exaggerated number, but I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the a member of the administration, was the Secretary of Health, or I can't remember who it was. But he talked about like how there's 304 million people in the country that have coverage. I didn't think that was a real number, but I looked it up. It is true. Now, there's like still a population of like I think we're like at like over 360 million people, I think. But that's still 60 million people that do not have coverage right now. Now, I remember the topic about like whether healthcare is a right. I used to not think so. Now I do. Because the fact of the matter is like anytime somebody gets healthcare coverage, right? Or if somebody doesn't have healthcare coverage and they go to a hospital and they can't afford the bills. Let's say, for example, the ambulance ride is about $3, $4, $10,000, something like that, depending on the city that you live in. Then you gotta wait in the hospital room. Then you gotta wait to see the doctor. Then you gotta wait for the prescription that gets filled. Then you don't have the money to actually pay for all these things. If you don't pay for it, you're pretty much shit out of luck, but you're still gonna get the coverage. But guess what? The money's still gonna get paid to the doctor. Guess who's gonna pay for it? The taxpayers are gonna pay for it, essentially. Because they're gonna get their money regardless. The healthcare industry is gonna get their money. But this is why I'm a firm believer that, like, healthcare for all is a good thing, because then it's going to lower all these costs. That way, like, not everyone's going to get saddled with all this debt. But, like, you brought up a very good point about the fact that there's one billionaire out there is like, wait a second, let's take the middleman out of this, because Cost Care Plus is the website that Mark Cuban has where they get rid of the middleman and everybody gets the prescription drugs at a reasonable price. There are people out there are thousands, if not, like, I don't know how many people have been saved by this program, but there are people out there that were having to pay like thousands of dollars for their prescription drugs, and now they only have to pay like a fraction of that, and they are so thankful for that. But like, this is the problem, is like the administrative costs get in the way of everything. And Katie Porter from California is so good about this. She's like, how much does it cost to run advertising for every like like administrative costs? It's like $17 essentially. I can't remember what it was, but basically like she added it up where like Medicare doesn't ask for administrative costs. Big Pharma and all these insurance companies do. They get all these administrative costs. They got everything else that kind of adds up into it. But guess what they also get? They get baseball stadiums, football stadiums. They get all this great funding that comes into it because they get their names all over these stadiums. Medicare for All doesn't have these things, and their administrative costs are like a fraction of what these big pharma, big insurance companies do. Now, when people are like complaining, oh, well, if you have healthcare for all, then, doctors going to be slaves. No, that's stupid. That's absurdity. People that think that are fucking stupid, honestly. That would be like saying, well, I don't want my tax dollars going into, because then, you're going to have like piss poor healthcare. Your tax dollars go into a lot of things, a lot more things than you realize. Your tax dollars go into the military. Your tax dollars go into the local police department. Your tax dollars go into the roads. Your tax dollars go into the fire department. They come out there and they do their jobs. I mean, what exactly are you talking about? You're worried about nothing.
Funny enough, that whole thing of like, oh, it'll make our medical care system worse. In almost most metrics, our medical system is worse. The only thing that America takes like a massive win on our medical is our cancer. Our cancer research is actually one of the best in the entire world. Mm-hmm. But most other things, our like response times and the way that we handle situations is actually some of the worst. When we had a mass migration of doctors that came in from like Sweden, Germany, Norway, Denmark, and stuff like that were coming in here. When they were talking about this kind of happened in the late 90s and early 2000s. One of the reasons is like, wow, you guys are kind of like sick in the head. Because it's like the way that like you treat your staff and then the way that you treat your patients and then the prices that you charge afterwards is like, it's downright diabolical. It's fucking diabolical. And it's one of those big things once again that like one of the biggest reasons why like Medicare for All and all these things really never went like through is there's so much money that's involved with these things from our politicians. This is one thing that I'm not as like a lot of people who are on my side are big Bernie people, right? One of the things that actually turned me off super hard with Bernie Sanders is specifically the pharmaceutical stuff, right? Because he's one of the huge people in America and has been for like a really long time to be like who's actively like condoned and actively contributed to the shitty like practices of the Medicare system, right? And it's a really kind of sickening thing because it's all just money, it's all just money grabbing shit, and us the people suffer like for that.
Yeah.
And it really does just kind of like sicken me to a point.
Oh, 100%. Because so I think it's about a year and a half ago, I had a really, really bad like pain like right here. I don't know what it was, but I could feel like actually traveling down like to this region, like near my heart stuff. And so I went to an urgent care clinic, and I said I was feeling chest pains. They said, you need to go to the emergency room. So I went down to the emergency room. I got EKG done. I got blood work done. And I spoke to a nurse. Never even saw a doctor, right? And I sat in that, and my wife and I sat in that emergency room for like 8 hours. And, you know, we didn't leave until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, essentially. And we got there, like, I can't remember what time. But I just know it was still daylight out. Let's put it that way. But anyway, we sat there, never saw a doctor, and my bill was like $3,000-$4,000, I think, something like that. Now, I looked around that hospital. There's people around there that are low income. I don't know if they have health care. And I have no idea how they're going to be able to pay for these bills, essentially. And I'm pretty sure they had medication. And the quality of care they got there was, I wouldn't say it's good, because this is in Flint, mind you. Flint, Michigan, yes. But like the thing is...
the water.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, I feel like the hospital has as many people as they can afford to have, and they can provide as good quality care as they can, but it's just not good, because low-income areas have poor quality hospitals, because you need a doctor there, and who knows what kind of doctor you're going to get, what kind of healthcare, what kind of IV bag, because, you know, not everybody gets the same quality IV bags. IV bags have an expiration date, what people don't realize. So you might actually go to a hospital that has expired IV bags, essentially, and you're going to get medication that's, like, really shitty, essentially. But, like, my whole point is like, the reason why I brought this topic up is because not enough people are talking about this. Not enough people are talking about the fact that small pharmacies, like, I brought this up because when I read 32% of pharmacies across the country, we're talking about, like, across the country, that's 14,368 pharmacies. Think about how many people are going to be affected by this. Because we like, you and I have had this conversation about, like, if small businesses go out, right? You got the big businesses like the Walmarts, the Dick's, Sporting Goods, things like that coming in. Yeah, they might have jobs, but guess what? They may not offer the same opportunities. They might not, like, pay as good, but they're the only things that are available. CVS is going to come in. They're going to charge whatever they want to their customers, essentially, and it's going to bankrupt people. Like, there's a reason as to why this is important. There's a reason as to why it's important for us to cut these guys out, these middlemen. Now, I understand why the middlemen right here are there. It's to kind of, like, negotiate the drug prices. But I feel like at the same time, they're doing it for themselves, essentially. They know they're going to make a profit off of these things. That's why the prices are even higher, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's criminal. It is fucking criminal. It's legal robbery, essentially. You're basically able to charge, like, this prescription is, like, going to help you with your migraines. But it normally costs, like, $35 for a bottle. We're going to charge you $555 because you live out in bumfuck Egypt, essentially. Like, that's bullshit.
Actually, to write off what you just said. So, funny enough, I started looking this up because it was true. If you go and look at countries like Egypt and Kuwait and stuff like that, on average, they pay less money for things like insulin, over-the-counter drugs, stuff like that, than we do in America.
Yeah.
Which is fucking disgusting to think about.
Yeah.
So for you America lovers out there, right, who we always talk about, like, how much we hate the Middle East and how much we, South Sudan and all those kinds of areas. Remember, our medical system in some ways is legitimately worse than in some places in fucking Kuwait.
Well,
like
our mutual friend Michael Hilliard, he was hanging out in Moldova with was it Kazakhstan or Moldova? No, it was Moldova. He was hanging out with members of the Moldova army. And then some guy that was like prior Navy said that America has the best healthcare system in the world, and everybody laughed at him. Everybody laughed at him because they knew that wasn't true. Because it's true. Like, when people say, "Oh, well, why do we have so many people flying over to our country to get healthcare?" Because they can fucking afford it. That's why. Like, if you go to a good hospital, like, here's the thing: you're not going to see a rich multimillionaire from Canada flying into like the poorest part of America to get healthcare. They're going to fly to the best hospital in the country. But not everybody in the country can afford that care. Not everybody can afford to go to the best hospital to get the best quality care from the best doctor out there. And I'm not hating against the good doctors, but I'm simply saying that the quality of care is going to vary on where
it's the average.
Go. Exactly.
It's all about average, right? Because people go, well, we have some of the best surgeons and neurosurgeons, stuff like that. All this is true. We do have stuff. You also need to be a fucking millionaire to be able to do that. Right, it's like, yeah, you can come and you can have the top tier, greatest medical system there is, but you have to be rich to do so because it's catered to the rich. That's why you always see these celebrities who get diagnosed with like really severe forms of cancer and stuff like that have like death rates of like 95% stuff like that, and they live 5-6 years longer. It's because they can afford the medical care to do that. Right, where a normal person can't do that. The normal person can't survive that long, and things like that. And it's I'll give an example of this. Even though he died, this one works. Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek had a really severe form of cancer that kills most people within a 6 to 9 month period. That man lived for 4 fucking years.
Yep.
And it wasn't because of luck and stuff like that. It's because he had the money. Right?
Yep.
And it's like he had the money to be able to do that. And like we've seen this over and over again where like the rich and the elites like live for so much longer, sometimes decades longer, with really, really bad ailments because they have the money to be able to do so. And look, like if we want to start down the system of like how making people more rich, I'm fine by doing so. Let's start having conversations about capitalism. That's fine by me. But it's like we're not going to have that conversation. We're just going to go, but the healthcare system and my taxes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if people want to have an argument about like where our tax dollars go, I'm willing to have that conversation. But the fact of the matter is, I look at healthcare not simply as a right, but as a service. Because if you're being like, if you just got mugged, if you call the police are going to show up. If your house is on fire, you call the fire department, they're going to show up. There's a lot of services out there. If you call, they're going to show up and they're going to provide you the best service possible. Why can't it be the same for the healthcare industry? And, I'm really thankful because, like, when Mark Cuban released the announcement for Cost Care Plus, there was people out there saying, Mark, you're doing it wrong. Billionaires are supposed to be building spaceships to go into outer fucking space. You're actually doing, you're actually using your platform for the right reasons. But the thing is, like, I love the fact that he's doing that, and he's not bragging about it. He's just saying, this is what the service we're providing because we're cutting out the middleman to give people quality. Like, to me, that is a capitalist that is right. That's doing things the right way. I'm not saying he's the perfect guy, but like, I love the fact that he did this because, it's criminal. Like, remember Martin Scarelli?
Yeah.
That fucking asshole said, I'm going to charge you 600% or whatever the fuck the number was for this medication that you desperately need to survive to make a point. Fuck you. Okay. You could just simply say, I could charge this much and people are going to pay for it without actually doing the fucking thing, you asshole. Like, I'm glad he went to prison. And the fact that people are like, oh, he didn't do anything wrong. He's just trying to make a point of fuck you. I'm sorry. Fucking asshole.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. You love Mark Cuban.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Cuban, you taste so good.
Yeah, absolutely. He tastes like success. Nah, but yeah. I like the fact that he's actually using his platform for good things. Again, people don't have to agree with him on everything, but this is a good thing. Like, Cost Care Plus have saved people thousands of dollars, and it covers a lot of insurance. Not every insurance company, but that would be great if it could.
While in this entire conversation, I've been playing Fortnite. I just took a massive shit on some children. um, but yeah, yeah, for sure. It is just another one of those things of why I fucking hate most people is because most people have drawn their post-partisan lines on like what they think is okay, and it's like this is literally one of those situations that shouldn't be politically divided. We should all agree unanimously that like yeah, like elderly people deserve to have care. Kids deserve to get the care they need and stuff like that. Like, how is this a conversation? Like, why is this a conversation? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
It,
how are we sitting here and debating the ethicalities of like should elderly people get cared for? It's like, are you fucking psychotic? Like, if we lived in like 1788 and stuff like that, sure, there were bigger problems in our healthcare, right? We live at a time where we can actually have conversations and help people who are sick and have ailments. So because of that, I have such bad indigestion. 1 second.
Mhm.
Okay, fuck me. I'm like burping and fucking coughing my fucking head off. Jesus fucking Christ. I
It's all
sound like
good.
a fucking smoker. Like, okay, so I think that like it's really ridiculous that we kind of sit here and act like we still live in a time where we can't have these conversations. We absolutely can because we live in the modern times. Again, if we lived in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, yeah, there were bigger problems. It's, I got a splinter in my finger, honey. Looks like I'll be gone in 4 months, right? Like we at one point we lived like that. We don't live like that anymore. It's time to evolve. It's time to elevate, and it's like we need. And one of those elevations is talking about how we can give real care to the people we love, right? Because it's like if you're a parent, you want to see your kid. If you're a caretaker to other people, you want to see the people you take care of be healthy, and by extension, you probably want yourself to be healthy. So why is it such a conversation and debate on trying to actually fix this thing? I just don't get that.
Because you'll have those
So
people. You'll have people like, "Well,
time
how?"
thing.
Oh, sorry. You keep cutting out. I'm sorry. I
Oh,
thought you were
I was
done.
gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say was if I get the whole herder wait time thing, like the guy who started the whole herder wait time literally came out and said, "I lied. I was paid off by a massive corporation to lie to you." That's it, and stuff like that. It's just I don't know. But yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is like you'll have the people that say, "Well, who's gonna pay for this?" Well, honestly, yeah. If this means I have to pay for that to make sure that Ma and Pa Joe Smith is gonna make sure that their child goes to the hospital and is going to get taken care of, I'm okay with paying my tax dollars going for that. Because the thing is like what people don't realize is like when people say, "Oh, well, I don't want my tax dollars going to pay for people's bad decisions." Your tax dollars are going to pay for people's bad decisions because there's people out there that are not insured. You're paying for their health care, whether you realize it or not. You're just doing it indirectly, essentially. But the thing is, it's like, you know, we can have a conversation about like, well, people should need to be more responsible. Okay, people can be more responsible, yes, but the opportunity also has to be there essentially because the healthcare that I get where I live at, like if I go to where like my nearest clinic, I'm going to get good quality care. Not everybody has that opportunity. Why? Because the opportunities aren't necessarily there. They're not going to have the same good hospital care. They're not going to have the same good grocery store care. They're not going to have the same clinic care, essentially, that I'm going to get, essentially. And I'm not just saying it because of like my skin color. I'm simply saying it because of the area I live in. That's why I'm going to get better quality care. Not everybody has that same opportunity. You're going to improve our overall life expectancy. And I'm not trying to say everybody should, like, I don't have to do it because people have done it for me. They've shown that healthcare for all will actually make things better. But, maybe I'm not trying to stand on my pedestal because I've got healthcare for the rest of my life. But I'm simply saying is like, if my tax dollars is going to go to make sure every American in this country has health care, I'm okay with it. Because,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, for sure, right? And I think one thing that was a really interesting argument that I really agreed with, and I've said this like multiple times in conversations, is that like I like the idea of cutting military spending and cutting the military's budget by a small amount to actually go forward with like there's a whole argument. We don't want taxes to be raised. Okay, cool. We don't have to raise these taxes. If we cut this portion of the military that's completely unneeded and unnecessary spending by the United States military, then like we can, like taxes don't have to be raised, right? Like we
sure,
can live in that world.
sure. But the only problem is, like, I 100% agree with you. But you know who the people are going to suffer the most from that, though? It's the service members. the defense contractors are going to lose their shit, but they're not going to lose a fucking dime. The people that are going to get hit first is going to be the soldiers and the officers. They're going to take the hits before the defense contractors do. That's how fucked up things are. I'm just being honest. That's exactly what's going to happen first.
Yeah, for sure. But like in a sense, there's so much money that's that's unnecessarily spent on the military that we could liquidate some of that money that is put out to the military and use it. Right? We could legitimately use it for a force of good. Like actually being able to give more accessible health care to the ones that we love.
Oh yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Like, if there's one thing I'm definitely gonna say is like, I definitely think there's some funding that we can cut from the military. But the thing is, though, the military-industrial complex is not gonna go with that. The first people they're gonna target is the pay for the military soldiers and the officers and the equipment that they need. But the defense contractors, they're gonna make they're gonna say, you know what? I'll seek services elsewhere to a different country, and then you can struggle with that one. Like that's exactly
fuck them.
Yeah,
fuck them.
Well, the thing is, like they're gonna hold that over us, and people are gonna like, we shouldn't scare these guys. We shouldn't scare Lockheed and whatnot. So we'll cut pay from our troops. We'll cut pay from the officers.
Hell yeah, fuck our soldiers.
Yeah, fucking asshole.
We don't need them.
Anyway, you want to go ahead and since we kind of like nailed this topic, what's your last topic for the evening?
As I'm playing Fortnite, I realized how bad you were when the last time we played. So I discussed on why you're so dog shit. Why are you such dog water? Why are you dog? No, I think. Often I'm a meme one, right? So I think we should discuss something a little bit more intense, okay? A little bit more passionate. Sure. Dune 2, why is it mid?
It is not mid. You're just wrong.
I actually haven't seen Dune 2. I'm gonna go watch it soon. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I need to watch it. I'm sure it's good. But I guess what movies? This is gonna be a real interesting topic. Definitely didn't make this up on the spot. Like what movies are you excited to see that are coming out? And or like even shows, even like what are you kind of excited to see that's coming out?
I'm actually excited to see the next Planet of the Apes movie because the last three were good. Like I wasn't expecting them to be that good, but they actually were. Like, I feel like they did a good job with storytelling and actually making you care about the characters. So I was really excited to see like the next stage. This could be like what leads up to Charlton Heston's stage of Planet of the Apes, like the first movie, because it shows like their progression essentially. I'm actually excited about that movie of all movies that's coming out because when I went and saw Dune Part 2, all the other movies just like I'm a Godzilla fan. But the fact that they're doing another Godzilla and Kong movie, I haven't even seen Godzilla versus Kong, and they're doing another one where it's basically like there's a whole clan of Kongs, and now they're like Godzilla and Kong are going to fight these guys. Like, really?
Planet of the Kong.
It just looks kind of stupid. But all the other movies look just like like there's also like the Monkey Man that looks stupid as fuck too. Honestly,
are you saying because you're racist?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Just go ahead and cancel me right now, okay?
There we go, people. He's a racist.
Exactly, But it looks like really bad. It looks really bad, honestly.
I mean, we're getting Joker 2. I bet that'll be probably pretty good.
Well, you already know how I feel about the first Joker. Joaquin Phoenix is a
great movie. Yeah, we agree. It's a great solid movie.
Joaquin Phoenix did a great job, but I didn't really care for the movie as much. I didn't think it was.
Yeah, you're wrong.
But like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of movies nowadays, it's just like wash, rinse, repeat. I don't think like people are really taking it seriously. Like they're making movies because they know the name is going to make money off of it.
The IPs pull money. I mean, look at the Borderlands movie. That shit looks fucking terrible.
I thought wasn't it a series or is it a movie?
It's a movie. Oh. It's a movie, and it looks fucking bad.
Yeah, I was like, Jamie Lee Curtis, really? I don't even.
Yeah,
I've never played Borderlands.
I love Borderlands. Yeah, I love them. Borderlands 2 is a fucking fantastic game. But fuck me, that movie looks horrible. It looks fucking horrible.
Well, the only thing I know about Borderlands is the song "This Ain't No Place for a Hero." That's a good song. That song's catchy as shit.
Speaking of other great bands like Imagine Dragons, they're actually releasing their own movie. I'm sure you'll go see that.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna jump right in line to buy that fucking ticket for that movie. Oh my god, fuck, terrible. But no, like, I don't know. I just feel like there's no real creativity in the fact that there's so many. Like, when I read that they're actually talking about remaking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Will Smith and Kevin Hart,
yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, there are
Yeah.
some movies that should never be remade because it's already good as is. But it's just like, you know,
we seem to live in an interesting time where we're both at this peak point of making some of the most amazing cinematographies and animated things that we've seen ever, right? Like, I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen's taken the world, but, you know, with its really stunning, like, animation style. Demon Slayer, obviously, is another one of the big things. It's like, its animation style has, like, literally elevated, like, other things. Like, it's, the animation's so good, other animes had to sacrifice fucking animators' lives to make their things better. Like, Jujutsu Kaisen literally, like, led to the death of 2 animators because they wanted to make the animation so good. And so that, but we also seem like, while we live in this time where, like, creativity has hit, like, this new peak, is also a new low, right? Where we've become complacent and okay with the same repetitive thing, with the same kind of, like, slop that just be forced on our throat and stuff like that. Like, at one point, like, the Marvel's MCU, like, franchise was persistently pretty fucking good. Like, Phase 1, 2, and 3 released predominantly really good movies. But in Phase 4 and 5, it's been pretty fucking bad. Outside of Loki, which was fantastic, and Moon Knight, that was okay, like, it's one of those things that, like, most of the movies suck fucking dick. And most of the shows also suck. Secret Invasions was fucking terrible. The Marvels was fucking terrible.
I heard
Ant-Man Quantumania was fucking terrible. Like, it's Morbius was fucking terrible. Madam Web was fucking terrible. Like, it's just like, but then you'll also see them at random times put out things like Loki, this super inventive new way to look at a character that was kind of framed as a villain. And it was this great cinematography story that was fantastic. It was beautiful, a well-made story. Only had 2 seasons, but it told such a great, complex, and layered story that was just fantastic. And even Moon Knight. Like, Moon Knight had some problems, but it wasn't bad. You know, it wasn't bad at all. Like, it was, you know, had some issues, but it was pretty good.
I liked Moon Knight because, like, I didn't know anything about Moon Knight, and Lethe Waterkai says, "Oh, you don't know anything about Moon Knight, do you?" I was like, "No, not really." But so, like, he sent me a link to it or something. But, like, the reason I liked it because I felt like the main character was very compelling, and I felt myself buying into him really. And it was the episode where you actually learned, like, where he, like, thought that he was imagining everything. He was, like, in the psych ward.
Yeah.
That's, like, the best episode. I fucking love that episode because, like, that's how you do good story building. And, like, I'm going to keep going back to this until the day I die. There are certain shows out there that have great stories that, like, it takes a while to kind of build up, but has, like, an amazing ending, and that's Andor.
Andor's incredible, yeah.
I love Andor. Like, I rewatch, like, Marva's speech in, like, the last speech. Like, that is so fucking good.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
it's incredible.
Or, like, I even like Nemec's speech about the rebellion. So, it's such good writing. But, like, I just... Great. Well, like, the reason why I like that is because, like, they're trying to create compelling characters that you actually buy into. You believe in these characters. You actually cheer for them. Like, I feel like a lot of people, like, especially in Disney, or not Pixar, but, like, Marvel, they try way too hard. Like, it's one thing to be, like, inclusive, to, like, make everybody feel comfortable, but it's a point to where you try to be so inclusive, it's fucking cringy. It's patronizing. Yep. And I feel like that's where they are failing because, like, I've heard like the Marvels movie was atrocious. Not just me, but, like, it's like one of the worst. Like, Madam Web,
really bad.
Like, Madam Web and, like, the Marvels is like the worst movies that people have ever seen.
Yeah, because, they're pretty horrendous.
Yeah, like, it's because they try way too hard.
The Flash is another one that's just fucking absolute dog shit trash. Like, The Flash is fucking awful.
Well, like, that's my point, though. It's like, I'm mostly upset about the fact that they kept the same actor because The dude is
Yeah.
fucking cancer. Like the guy,
He's a pedo. He's
yeah,
literally a.
he literally.
Actually, I should say he's a child molester because he was grooming 3 underage kids,
Yeah.
one of which he kidnapped and said that he was going to molest.
Yes, I mean,
like,
and like the media's like, that's all right, we'll keep them. And the fact that
James Gunn, by the way, is James Gunn's DC. You know, the guy who made Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn. This is his DC, and then he was on record going, you know, he's a real great talent to work with. It's like you deserve to be straight to the Stalin lounge.
That's just so cringy. Like the fact that like it's kind of like. It's on the same level as like bringing Amber Heard in for Aquaman 2. I'm not even gonna watch it because I just can't stand her. She's like,
it'll be a little bit fair on that one that she had already been doing post production for Aquaman 2 before the trials ever took place.
Really? I thought okay.
Yeah. So Aquaman 2 was delayed by a year and a half due to COVID, but she was already in production of Aquaman 2 before the Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard trial had started. So she had already been in the movie, and they had to pretty much be like, we can either get rid of her and have to redo everything, or we have to run with it. And it came to like, we don't really have time to redo this, and Aquaman 2 was bad anyway. Like, it's a really bad movie.
I heard it was bad.
So yeah, you're not missing anything compared to the first one, which wasn't bad. It's pretty shit.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, that's one thing I'm always wondering, because like it's interesting that you talk about this because I'm an entertainment buff myself, right? Do you feel like sometimes like industries like, you know, 20th Century Fox, Legendary, do you think sometimes like, okay, you have this deadline, you've got to meet it? Don't you think like some directors are like, kick rocks, I'm going by my timeline? Because that's what Denis Villeneuve did with Dune Part 2. Is like, I'm going by my fucking timeline. And
that's what the Batman's doing. The Batman 2. He's like, hey, you might have to wait 5 years, but guess what? I'll make a masterpiece. And you don't like it? Fuck off. Like,
I still have yet to watch that, so
fucking good.
But but that's the reason why I like Denis Villeneuve. I respect him as a director is because he cares more about the material. Now, you're gonna have a lot of critics out there. Like, when people talk about it, it's just like, oh my god, you're missing the fucking point of why the movie went the way it did. But there's a reason for it, and there's a lot of changes from the book that got put in the movie, but they're good changes. I feel they are appropriate. And I know he was as true to the material as he could possibly be. But like, even my wife, who understands that like I'm a Dune fanatic, she knows like there were some things I was like, okay, it's a little weird, but it wasn't cringy. It's just it was for the sake of time, not for the sake of like being inclusive. Yeah. It's not for the sake of like, it's because Dune is very complex. It's not something you can squeeze down into the 1984 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's something that takes 2 movies to do, essentially. But like the miniseries is always most true to the book, but the special effects and the costumes are dog shit. But like this version is great because it's beautiful. Like, Alexa, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch because it is breathtakingly good.
I actually, my plan is because there's Dune 2. The new How to Train Your Dragons and the new Kung Fu Panda movie. I've got I grew up with both those movies. They're like, they're great franchises to my heart. So what I'm doing is, since they're all coming out around the same time, I'm waiting for all 3 to come out, and then I'm going to the movies and I'll watch them all on the same day. I'm just gonna be like, I'll watch Dune and then jump and watch the next movie, then jump and watch the next movie, and then I'll see them all at the same time.
So the last time I actually went and saw a movie was actually, I think, the first Dune, which was in 2021, because I haven't had time to.
I saw Oppenheimer.
Yeah. I've heard Oppenheimer's good.
Fucking great. I mean, it's a Christopher Nolan film. Most Christopher Nolan films are great.
Yeah, they usually are pretty good. I respect Christopher Nolan because he's an artist. He's a guy that understands that like movies, there's a certain way to do movies. Like, you can either do them with, like, substance, or you can go the way of Michael Bay, essentially, where there's no substance, but really cool stuff. And
Yep. I even like Tenet. Like a lot of people don't like Tenet. A lot of people thought Tenet was bad. I didn't mind it. I don't think it was great, but I don't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. I generally really do appreciate a lot of Christopher Nolan's works. I think that he does a lot of great stuff.
mhm.
And generally is a pretty fantastic director. And yeah, Oppenheimer. Obviously, if you know me, I'm a history buff. I have a bachelor's degree in history. So I'm really big on things being historically accurate. Oppenheimer was extremely historically accurate to a lot of events and things that happened. They didn't placate to an audience. They didn't try to make someone look like a hero when they didn't. I think it did a really good job at conveying a story that really happened, conveying how these things really went down and who these people really were.
Oh, sure. And as crazy as this guy might be, batshit crazy, when I watched the movie Hacksaw Ridge, when I found out that was actually based on what he actually did, I was like, holy fuck. I know they condensed stuff down, he actually didn't get injured at Hacksaw Ridge, he got injured later on down the line, but they had to condense it down for time. But it's just the fact that they settled on the number 75 for how many people, because he probably saved more people than that, but they just 75 people. That sounds like an action movie for Hollywood. But he actually did that. And the fact that they brought in people that actually said the man saved my life, is wow.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of great movies. I should say a lot. There are some definitely great movies. Some movies that really, really fucking pissed me off when doing this was The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio. It really fucking infuriated me because that's a real thing that happened. So the guy that Leonardo DiCaprio plays was a real man that really got attacked by a grizzly bear that actually survived, was buried alive, left for dead, and lived to tell the tale. All these things really happened, but the story that they told in the movie, most of that never happened. He never had a Native American wife. He never had a child. He never went and killed the people who did that to him. Those guys were never killed by Native Americans. The actual story of how that ends, because I'm assuming most people have seen The Revenant for how popular it was, is that how it actually ended was the kid, one of the kids who left him for dead, he punched him in the stomach and said, "Be better and grow up. It's your time to be a man." The two guys that left him for dead, he told them to straighten their lives up because they need to be better people. And then that guy went on to go live in a log cabin in the woods, and he got scalped by Native Americans. He was murdered and eaten by Native Americans. That's the actual story that happened. He wasn't best friends with the natives, and none of that ever happened. He got murdered. He got scalped and literally cannibalized by Native Americans, and that's how his story ended. But the actual story is so incredible and so unbelievable that a man could be directly attacked by a grizzly bear, kills the grizzly bear, then left for dead, buried alive on the side of a mountain, and then tracked hundreds of miles on a mountain after murdering a grizzly bear with his bare hands, and then lives to tell the tale. And then they had to make some goofy fairy tale movie. I don't get it.
Yeah, I've never seen the movie, but I haven't really been interested in watching it, so it's not I feel spoiled by it, because it's not that I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio is a bad actor. It's just it's never been a movie I was really interested in watching. But
The Revenant is a great movie by itself. If you take away all context stuff like that, it's a great movie. But it's just with knowing the actual story, it really grates on my nerves.
Well, when it comes down to movies, I care more about I always break down a movie by it being great by 5 categories. It's the musical score, the cinematography, the CGI or practical effects, the acting and the screenplay, and just the overall plot of the movie. And I have to be bought into the story. I don't care if it's unrealistic. I have to be bought into the story, essentially. Here's a good example. It's not realistic. There's no way in shape or form, but I love the characters. And that was when my wife and I watched the live action version of One Piece. I love the characters. The characters, I buy into them and I believe in them. They are fantastic. There's no agenda behind them. They are just who they are, and I love that. I mean, I'd like to see the anime version of it, but I buy into the characters.
All 1,400 million episodes of it.
But that's my point, though. It's it's hard to condense down, but there's nerds out there that love the anime, that love the live action because they actually did justice to it. It's because they actually took the source content and they didn't try to. They only changed it because they had to condense it down into this much into one season. And I get that. But I like the fact that if you have to create a story and make it like diverse because you don't want like The Boys is a good example of this, right? When The Boys did their like stuff, they don't like do it for the sake of like, oh, we need to be inclusive. They do it because they want to like they tell their story because you know what, we do what the fuck we want to and screw all the haters. And like when you got Avengers Endgame where it had don't worry, she's got help kind of deal, people are like, this is really patronizing. But then you got The Boys says girls do get it done. That shit was fucking badass. I don't care what anybody says. That shit was fucking amazing from season 2. But like that's what I mean though. It's like if you're gonna be inclusive, do it the right way. Don't do it to be cringy. Do it because it fits. Like all the Star Wars sequels where you know Rey Skywalker or Rey fucking whatever the fuck her last name was, she made herself be fucking.
A fucker.
Yeah, but like they gave her this Mary Sue where she became more powerful than every other Sith Lord. Fuck that. That was so stupid. They could have done a much better job, but fuck Kathleen Kennedy. She had to fuck everything up, you know?
Good thing is she's now kicked rocks, and it's now all Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Yes!
And to sing the praises even more, Bad Batch Season 3, which is the season finale of Bad Batch, has been fucking fantastic.
I still need to watch Bad Batch.
So fucking good. Season 3 has been fantastic, super heart-wrenching. It's been unbelievably good. Like you haven't seen Bad Batch, go watch it. It's incredibly good. I love it. It's if you know where it takes place, it picks up right where the Clone Wars leaves off. The first episode literally takes place as Order 66 happens. It's extremely good. It's very well animated. It's in as the same animation form as Clone Wars did. So if you're a Clone Wars fan, you'll love Bad Batch. If you don't like Bad Batch, you're wrong. Yeah.
I mean, like. But I like compelling storytelling. But that's like when in most Star Wars series, like I still need to watch season 3 of Mandalorian. But like,
good.
But like Andor, I think the reason why I liked it is because the storytelling was so good. They took their time with good storytelling, and I still say my favorite episode was No Way Out. I love that just because I think it's because I'm such an Andy Serkis simp. But I love that whole episode. It is so good. And like the only one that I like just below that is the heist where they're actually escaping. Like I remember I was watching that with my wife, and like the scene where Nemec gets slammed, you know, spoilers. But like the fact that he's like they're trying to fly out of the fucking meteor storm, like she was like, "Oh my god, like what's gonna happen?" That's why I call it good storytelling, is because they actually went through it the proper way. And it's like Stellan Skarsgård was so fucking good as Luthen. Like his monologue was like, "What have I sacrificed? Everything." I love that monologue because when you grew up watching the Star Wars movies, you always knew that the rebellion was the good guys, but he just offers a different perspective that the rebellion just used the same tactics as the Empire. I was like, that is so fucking awesome. I love that. I mean, I can't say another good thing. It makes me want to watch Andor all over again.
Yeah, Andor's fantastic. It was truly like incredibly like how good it actually was. Because like even like obviously like I'm a massive Star Wars fan. I doubt anyone's going to be a bigger Star Wars fan than me. Like that's a pretty difficult challenge to do. And like I remember watching it. I remember I told you, even you, Alex, I was like, you need to see Andor. It makes me fuck different. Like it is just like it just is different, bro.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's good storytelling because like I like the fact that they leave a lot to the imagination. Like here's another good example of that, right? When they put that headset on Bix, you don't hear what she's hearing, but you can only imagine like the shit that just makes her scream because it's like a form of torture.
Yeah,
like you have no idea what it is, but that makes it more terrifying. That's where like less is more. The less you know.
One of the best scenes, I think the thing that shipped Andor for me, I think this was the moment. They're sitting there, the kid's about to die, they're outside, they're talking to each other, and he goes, "Hey, what if we just take it, split 50-50?
Yes.
And he just shoots him dead. It's not a word. Not a word. They just shoots the guy dead.
Yep. Stuff like that, I love the fact that, like, here's a good example of that, right? In the Suicide Squad, not the first Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, right? The scene where Peacemaker is getting ready to shoot Ratcatcher 2, and Bloodsport falls through the ceiling.
Yep.
They just stare each other down. Not a word is said, but they just draw guns. I love the fact. The reason why I like that is because like you'll see like the hero, anti-hero, whatever. They have like a monologue between him and the real bad guy. There's nothing that is said between the two except for after the guns have already been shot, and he's like, "How smaller bullets?"
But like, smaller bullets. Yeah.
But like, I love the fact that that was done because there's no unnecessary dialogue. They don't make anything cringy. There's no cringy monologues, even though it's typical as hero movies, anti-hero movies. Nothing more needs to be said. I watched that scene over and over again on YouTube because I love it so much. Because like John Cena, he did the character so well in that movie. I love it. But he's like, he doesn't want to kill a rat catcher, but he does because he feels like he needs to, because he's doing it for the sake of the country. And then when Bloodsport just, once again drops through, he just looks at her and looks at Peacemaker.
And
he's like, something's not right here. This dude's fucked up. I gotta shoot him now. Like, it's so good. Like, so much can be said about that scene, essentially, because nothing needs to be said. And I think that's why I like so much about it. It's like, nothing needs to be said. There's no unnecessary dialogue. It just happens. And you're like, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, for sure. And it's super good. Yeah. Look, I've said before, I don't think that the first Suicide Squad movie was as bad as everyone made it out to be. Do I think it was good? Not really. I think that parts of it were good. I think that parts of it were actually quite good. I think that Enchantress was actually done fairly well. Enchantress' brother can be shot in the fucking head. Holy fuck, that's such a terrible character. That shit was horrible. But like, I think the casting was actually exquisitely good in that movie. I think in general the casting was super good. I mean, like fucking Deadshot looked great. I mean, Will Smith was a perfect choice for me. Yeah, they picked Captain Boomerang, 10 out of 10 choice. Like, just generally like a really good like lineup of actors. I mean, obviously, like the Harley Quinn they've chosen has now become one of the most popular Harley Quinns ever.
Sure.
I think it was a casting. I think what it suffered from is it wanted to be too serious, like way too serious, with the Suicide Squad, where Suicide Squad is kind of a serious, unserious type deal. And the Suicide Squad, I did enjoy it. Like, I generally did enjoy it. But my one criticism of the Suicide Squad is I wish that it would have been a bit more serious, right? I think that when they make the third movie, to have the perfect balance is to have something between the first and second movie where it's like it has very, very serious and dark tone, but it still has like a comedic edge to it.
Well, my biggest problem with Suicide Squad is because they tried to like condense, because like it was still in the heyday of like all the Marvel movies, where like all the Marvel movies had all the the backstories already into one movie. They try to condense it so much. It's a lot of stuff to put into one movie essentially, and I didn't really buy into the characters. And I know I don't buy into Jared Leto. Maybe it's because they didn't have him on there enough, but I don't see him as a Joker. I see him as an imposter Joker, honestly. I thought he was cringy as hell.
I could have. I don't like him as a person. He's a fucking
he's a scumbag.
Yeah. But like, I could have seen him working out, because look, that scene where he's laying on the ground with all the knives and guns all around, that looks sick. Like, that looked cool. Like, where all the knives and guns and the weapons that he was like laying there is all around him. That scene looked cool. It's just I kind of wish we could have seen it, because like I don't really have an opinion on that Joker, because it's like it never had time. And then when we saw it in Snyder Cut's Justice League, it was really cool. It was really good.
That was good. Yes.
It had the Red Hood. It had the Red Hood reference. It had so many small. Also, Snyder Justice League was fucking fantastic. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was better than Joss Whedon's by a mile. Yeah.
Joss Whedon's is actually a war crime. Like, he should be like arrested, put in prison, thrown under the prison, fucking chucked into the ocean. Yeah.
I'd say like the best scene of original Suicide Squad was the first battle scene. Like, that scene was badass. Like, that whole scene was good. But it's like, I didn't feel any real connection. The only I felt a connection between the two characters, and that was Deadshot and Harley Quinn. Those are the only two people I had a real connection to. But like, you know, everybody else was like Diablo. I felt nothing for him. I just felt like nothing. I'm a huge fan of Cara Delevingne. I think she's like amazing, but I felt nothing for her character really. I just really didn't feel like this movie was. I think they were trying to do too much in a short amount of time.
I agree.
Like,
yeah, I agree.
But like, well, I do love the Suicide Squad because you know who Rick Flag is. He's very well established, and so like, I respect the fact that they actually did kill him off because like nobody was safe. Like I nothing kills me more than plot armor. You don't know who's safe in that movie. Like you think everybody's gonna be safe, but nobody's safe. Polka Dot Man, he's like, I'm a hero. I'm a hero.
Here crushed.
Yeah. I love the fact that. Yeah, I love the fact that that happened though because I like the characters. I like to have an emotional connection with characters. It might sound weird, but that's just how I am. When it comes to a movie, I like to have an emotional connection with the characters. And the Suicide Squad, I developed rapport with all of them within the first 10 minutes of seeing them. Like you got, you know, Bloodsport. He's cleaning gum off the counter. And then like he's screaming, fuck you into his daughter and shit like that.
Yep.
Automatically drawn to him. You know, John Cena does the exact same thing as he does, only he's better at it. Then you got fucking King Shark. Smart am I? Like, I'm drawn to those characters.
King Shark's great. Yeah, King Shark. I've always liked King Shark. I'm a DC and Marvel nerd. I'm big on comics. I'm super big on that. And I'm a big fan of Suicide Squad. Like as a comics, they some of the best animated movies from the DC are Suicide Squad. Like Hell to Pay is fantastically amazing, and there's a lot of great stuff comes out of it. So, but yeah, we've been doing this for 2 hours, and I have a business I got to take in 30 minutes. So, and it has been fun.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
If you want to.
We can close out right here. So just I just want to say I appreciate you like for us finally having this conversation. Like this is the kind of stuff I like to do. I like to have a chill conversation. Like I hope you've enjoyed yourself here.
Yeah, I have enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone. Make sure to like, subscribe, give Alex some follows. All I do is run a Discord, so just discord.gg/politicalshitshow. We're gonna start doing interviews with like different people, YouTubers, content creators, politicians, all sorts of different things. In pretty soon after, within the next week or so. So we're gonna start doing all that. So yeah, just join the Discord, discord.gg/politicalshitshow, and that's all I do. And yeah, just give all your money and all the other things to Alex. I don't need your money, so give it all to Alex.
Are you going to have a YouTube channel for all these interviews, or are you just going to do it?
Yeah, so we're going to have that stuff in a few days. It will all be posted in my Discord. It'll be announced. So, like I said, if you're interested in like interviews type, podcast type things, and we're going to actually completely destroy Alex over here, you're going to come just join the Political Shit Show at discord.gg/politicalshitshow. It'll be all put in announcements. I'm fairly in VCs when I have the free time.
Absolutely. Well, Alexa, it's always been a pleasure. I'm glad that you know, like you and I can have this conversation, and be sure to give a shout out, and whenever that happens, like just let me know, and I'll be there to watch all your content. I'm much obliged to you.
As always. All right, have fun.
Take care now. Y'all have a great weekend. See y'all next weekend. Take care.